In this episode, we tried to mill a maple and almost set our sawmill on fire. But let's start at the beginning. At the very beginning of the season, we tried to take down our first trees. These were our first trial trees, and at this point, they're laying down and they need to be cleaned up. Behind them is a row of hemlocks. We need those trees to build some supporting structures before we get to our pine and for our pork planks. There were a few small maple, a small hemlock, and a couple decent-sized maples that we wanted to try milling. We started our future firewood pile using these more mid-sized logs. The small logs we set on fire. And we created more burn piles for the future.
I guess the next unseasonably cold weekend will burn this. It's got a funny thing kind of happening down there. So I can either cut it in half and you can deal with the funny thing, or I can cut it up about 4 feet. And it's one log. What do you want? And that one I'll cut right there.
Okay.
That
Yes.
maple, and then
Yes.
You'll have this whole.
Yes.
Okay.
After we cleaned up all the small stuff, we were left with a couple medium-sized maples where we wanted to try milling them on our sawmill. These were heavier, bigger trees than last time, so we did use a tractor to haul these around.
Well, come on.
What are we doing?
We're gonna try and roll it.
We're rolling it.
What are we? Do you have any other suggestions? Well, we didn't know where this stops.
Things you learn. We did get the log loaded, secured, and ready to be milled. Milling maple was very different than milling pine. Pine is a very soft wood, so the mill sliced through those like butter. It was much harder to mill this maple. We also think we made a couple mistakes. We didn't tension our blade properly, and it caused some jamming, and potentially we just ruined our blade and we need to replace it. It was a very pretty maple log though. And this is where things started to get really interesting. I'm not an expert in sawmills, but I don't believe setting them on fire is the right way to go. We did make a couple of adjustments and we did finish milling this maple log. We stacked our boards to dry, so we'll report in a couple of months on what happened. With the smaller trees cleared out and out of the way, it was time to cut down a decent sized hemlock. We will be using these hemlocks to build certain supporting infrastructure. The plan was to cut it into boards on our sawmill and build a couple projects.
It was just off.
Yes, this hemlock got caught up in a couple of smaller trees and it didn't fall all the way to the ground. So we decided to clear some small trees, leave the hemlock alone, and our trusty tractor sled came in handy again. Instead of using the hemlock boards, we decided to use these trees for building our project. Stay tuned, subscribe to see what we're gonna build.